Like every team in college football, Notre Dame football has some flaws. And heading down the stretch of the season, it's going to be about overcompensating for those flaws and trying to find resolution. Well, we're going to talk about those negatives and what could potentially hold Notre Dame back from making a deep playoff run and how much we should be worrying down the stretch of the season. Ryan Roberts from A to Z Sports breaking down everything Notre Dame football. Folks, we're going to have a slightly negative conversation. I want to preface that because I think that most people have watched these videos since the start of the season or maybe since the start of last season. You know that when something's going good, I talk about it. When something's going bad, I talk about it. When you should be indifferent about certain issues, I talk about it. So this isn't just me being negative. I know I've been coined as the negative guy, but this is reality. And ultimately, when there is a negative or a weakness, the only way for growth is to be able to understand that there's a negative or weakness. Understanding is what we're kind of developing here today. Notre Dame has 4 games left in their 2025 regular season before hopefully a college football playoff run. But if and when they get there, there are some things about this team that are a little bit flawed. How much should we worry about that? What are the flaws? And is it something that I'm worried about ultimately? That's kind of where this conversation comes from. So let's talk about 4 big flaws that I think that we need to just be aware of if you're a Notre Dame fan. And let's talk about it. Let's be open to it. And hopefully we elicit some change in this conversation. Number 1, and this is not a disparaging of CJ Carr and what he has accomplished for Notre Dame at the quarterback position. CJ has been very good for the most part. In 8 games, he has 16 touchdown passes, a couple more on the ground. He has thrown for over 2,000 yards. He is averaging per completion over 14 yards per completion, and he has a 9.8 yards per attempt average. All of those things for a freshman quarterback are incredibly good. CJ, for the most part, has been very good so far in his first year as a starter. Here's the conversation point, though, about the passing game and CJ Carr intact. Will it be good enough in the biggest moments when a team says, I am going to take your run game away? We've seen that in a couple games already where the opposing defense says, hey, number 4, Jeremiah Love, that dude's a superstar. Hey, Jadarian Price, really good running back. We are going to take that away from you. And we're going to force you to be a pass-heavy team or a team that needs to beat us through the air without the complementary run game. We're going to do that. Now, CJ, for everything that he's done well, he's still a redshirt freshman. And he still had a couple up and down games at this point. So when you get into the heat of the moments in the biggest games, when your back is against the wall, you need to make a couple big time throws. You have to lead a game-winning drive. Does CJ Carr as a redshirt freshman have it in him now to lead a team when his back's against the wall? Any other cliche or any other word that you want to use for this type of conversation? A high pressure, high leverage situation. Does CJ have it in him right now? I think redshirt sophomore, redshirt junior CJ Carr, I'd be very confident that he has the opportunity and he has the ability to be able to handle those answers. But as a redshirt freshman who's going to have 12 starts under his belt, is he ready to be that guy? I hope that we find out that answer, and I hope that the answer is yes. I happen to think very highly of CJ Carr, the talent, but I am a little bit worried in 2025 if he has it right this second to be able to put a team on his back. The other offensive conversation I'm going to have is the offensive line. This offensive line has already been banged up due to injury. Ashton Craig, starting center, is out for the rest of the year. Joe Otting has done really good stuff in his stay so far. Billy Schrouth is now out for a couple weeks. We'll hopefully get him back before the end of the season and before a playoff run. But now you have Sullivan Absher starting at left guard. You also have Gerby Lambert starting at right guard because Charles Jagasaw got hurt before the season. Now, Gerby's done a lot of good things. Joe's done a lot of good things. And I actually think that Sullivan Absher, even though the offensive line didn't play great in their last game against Boston College, I do think that Sullivan Absher had a pretty solid first start for the most part. I think that there was growth that could definitely happen for a 6'8", 327-pound offensive lineman as a redshirt sophomore in his first career start. I actually was very positive about his first start. I think there was a lot of good in there. But your offensive line has still been affected by injury. Can you go into January with an offense that is down a couple of stars in the offensive line, playing good enough football to dominate the line of scrimmage. Because what's going to happen is you're going to play a team during the playoffs, more than likely, that has a really good defensive line. And you're going to be challenged up front. And like I said before, a team is going to dare you to throw the football. And the way they're going to do that is they're going to put a bunch of extra hats in the box, and they're going to make your offensive line have to think on the fly. Can the starting five that we see now be able to do that in the playoffs? Because ultimately, you're going to have to prepare from here on out. Like, that is your starting offensive line. Hopefully, Billy Stroud is back healthy and ready to go. Maybe you get a Charles Jagusah back at some point, at least to help the depth. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like in the playoffs if Notre Dame runs the table and makes it. But I do think that it's, like, right now you need to say, like, hey, this might be what we have. Is this good enough? If not, we need to try to make it good enough, right? So your offensive line has me slightly worried. I do think it's a good thing that for cohesiveness, that conversation, you have 4 more games to try to get this team to play together. And I think that you've seen some really good growth over the year for the most part. You just need to kind of continue to see that incremental growth and to see this team ultimately blossom at the right spot on the offensive line. On the defensive side of the football, it's the same conversation that we had last year. All last year, we're going to continue to have it. Is this pass rush good enough in a big moment on a big stage to affect the quarterback enough to discombobulate the passing attack for the opposition? In the national title game against Ohio State, it wasn't. Will Howard mostly played from incredibly clean pockets in that contest. And there's been some good this year. There's also been some not great. I mean, early on, it was Boubacar Traore or nothing as a pass rusher. Lately, and they just had 6 sacks against Boston College. So lately, it's been a little bit better, right? Like, you had that 6-sack performance, and it was a 6-sack performance, so I think it was important because Boubacar Traore did not have a great game against Boston College. So you had to see guys like Jalen Sneed step up and try to get some pressure on the quarterback. You saw Drake Bowen as a blitzer. You saw Kingston Viliamo-Asa as a blitzer. Hopefully, you get continued ascension of Bryce Young and some of the interior defensive linemen that are able to make an impact. Joshua Burnham had a nice game against Boston College as well as a pass rusher. So hopefully, the complementary pieces outside of Boubacar continue to trend upward. I'm actually feeling better about this group as the season's going by because beginning of the year, I was like, oh man, I think this might be the same pass rush plus Boubacar. Like, I think this might be the same. Complementary weapons. I think having Jordan Botelho in a big moment can help. I think having Joshua Burnham back healthy can help. I think Bryce Young continuing to turn upward can help. If you can find some interior defensive line pressure against the passer, I think that would be kind of the hidden recipe here. But I actually do feel a little bit better about the defensive line making an impact in the biggest moment because ultimately, guys, when you're in the playoff opportunity, maybe you have a rematch against Indiana. At some point, you're going to be playing against Fernando Mendoza. Maybe you'll be playing against Ohio State again at some point. You're going to be playing against a pretty dang good quarterback in Julian Sain. Maybe it's a Dante Moore for Oregon. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks that you have the opportunity to have an opportunity against. Are you going to be ready to get after them? Is it a rematch with Marcel Reed? I don't know what the outlook's going to be as far as seeding, but what I do know is that in the biggest moment, you are going to have to affect the quarterback. This run defense in 2025 has been dang good. They're only allowing 89 rushing yards per game and 2.8 yards per carry. But can the secondary hold up? But the secondary starts with the ability to create pressure. How do you help a secondary out? I think we always think of vice versa. Like, oh, great pass coverage equals coverage sacks. Well, in the other side of it, if I get great pressure, that helps out my secondary a ton. And I think that you need to see if Boubacar and company are able to up their game in the biggest moments and affect the quarterback effectively enough to give your team a fighting chance in the end. My last thing, and I hate talking special teams. Everybody knows this. I hate it, but I have to keep talking about it because right now you suck at field goal kicking. Like, you're bad. You're bad. We're coming off a game where you made 1 of 4 kicks. You missed your only field goal. You went 1 for 3 on extra points. Horrible. Like, it was really bad. It was and it isn't just a new thing. We saw this in 2024 with Mitch Jeter being injured. We've seen it this year already with some missed kicks. I remember in 2024, while in the regular season, you can go back to the videos, while I was very nervous about the field goal kicking, I also did say that, but hey, you have Mitch Jeter, who the last 2 years before that was nearly automatic for South Carolina, a very good college kicker. As long as he's healthy, he's going to figure it out. Noah Burnett can get healthy, but is Noah Burnett going to suddenly be a big game kicker when he comes back if he's healthy? I don't know. I've never really seen him be that guy. He had one pretty good year for North Carolina. Otherwise, it was not great overall. So is he the answer? Can Eric Schmidt, true freshman, be the answer? And if he is the answer, are you going to trust the true freshman to make a big kick in a big moments? Is it Marcel Diamati? Like, I don't know. I don't know the answers here, which makes me nervous. Even though last year it was ugly when Mitch Jeter was injured, you still said, hey, but Mitch Jeter has a track record. Noah Burnett does not have the same track record. Eric Schmidt has no track record because he's a true freshman. Marcelo has no track record. Where do you feel confident about this kicking game getting better? I'm to the point where I'm like, hey, do I go for 2 a little bit more? Do I go for 4th down a little bit more in supposed field goal range? I don't know, man. I don't know the answer to it, which is why I have a lot of nervousness. Folks, would love to hear from you all. One, am I overreacting with any of my 4 talking points? When we're talking about quarterback CJ Carr making a play in a big moment, whether we're talking about the offensive line being able to hold up, whether we're talking about the pass rush or the kicking game, let me know in the comments. Also go in there and tell me what biggest concerns you have. What is the biggest concern that could hurt Notre Dame and potentially a playoff run? Make sure to like and subscribe on your way out. And as always, go Irish.